This podcast is intended for educational purposes only. For our full disclosure, visit NC-Midwifery.com. Got it.
Hey, Angie. Are you almost done with that application?
I thought I was.
Until you started filling it out?
Yes.
It's like the application that never ends. It just goes on and on, my friend. I feel a song coming.
Right?
We don't have license.
That never ends.
We don't have a license.
Oh, seriously. Seriously. No. I know.
Welcome back to another episode of More About Birth here with our hosts, Shannon Bennett and Angie Hansen. It's an amazing journey.
I don't know if journey's the right word.
I don't know if amazing is the right word. Something else.
We're picking Angie's brain today about her midwifery journey because everybody's been asking me more questions about when's Angie going to be done, what's she going to do.
So is this like a trial?
So,
is she on trial right now?
Kind of, sort of.
I'm just watching body language. So if you're not watching the video podcast, I like to watch the body language.
I'm trying to give her or have some leverage over her. So she said this publicly so that she has to follow through with this. Because how many times have you told me you're going to quit and you're done?
I've
10?
lost count.
10 more?
Just so you know, there's only 4 of each card in the deck. So you can only play it 4 times.
So remind me, why did you want to become a midwife in the first place?
That's a great
question. What was the purpose?
Maybe this will help me.
It'll rejuvenate you. It'll help you find your
motivation for finishing this crazy
Is this too
thing.
much reality for your podcast? More about birth?
Probably.
Yeah,
No.
this is probably.
Nobody wants to see this grumpy side.
We're both kind
This
of
grumpy negative side.
Well, so in all fairness, right?
Sorry,
so
guys.
for our listeners, it's not exactly been an easy 12 months. You know, Angie's doing school. We've gone through what we went through.
12 months?
I'm
6
saying,
years.
I'm talking about the last 12 months.
Oh.
As you're trying to finish this, last portion,
Well,
this has not been an easy
there's
journey for any of us.
Obstacles to getting her birth observations at the hospital in and just a lot of different things. But today we're going to talk to Angie about kind of like where her passion started for midwifery, why she decided to go to school, and kind of where she's at in the journey. So hopefully this will just pump you up to get it done. Because she's in the middle of filling out like a 40-some page.
40?
Well,
Or
skills.
200?
It's pretty bad. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Anyways, it just never ends. It just goes on and on, my friend. Some people started filling it out, not knowing what it was.
Seriously,
And
not
they'll continue
knowing.
filling it forever just because. So tell us, go back to when you first had the passion for midwifery. Like, when did you start thinking about it? Were you 5?
No.
You 20?
No, it's funny because I always tell people, and my mom would know better than anybody else, but we joke about how almost of everybody that we knew, I would have been the least likely person to do this job.
Why?
Why?
Because I did not like anything medical. I didn't like blood. I didn't like,
But it's happy blood.
I don't like mess. I don't like, I just was not, I would have been the last person.
So obviously that's not the focus though of birth. I don't think that's just like me. I don't like blood either. I can't stand
it's happy blood.
But there must have been something else about this whole experience.
Yeah, well, obviously there's parts of the process that overcome all that. I don't think anybody I shouldn't say anybody, probably most people don't go into the medical field because they love bodily fluids or something.
When birth has its bodily fluids.
Oh,
yeah,
does
but
it?
there's all kinds of humor in those bodily
There is,
functions.
and we laugh about it. When did you first notice that you were even thinking about that path?
Well, so my oldest daughter was born 11 years ago, and we had a home birth with her, and we had just a really wonderful experience. We had a certified professional midwife in Minneapolis, and really just fell in love with that model of birth, researched it quite a bit.
Because you didn't start out with a midwife.
No, in fact, I did the first 12 weeks of that pregnancy with an OB, just the traditional route, did our first ultrasound in that office, very standard of care. And that OB was nice and she was pleasant, but it was night and day difference from the care we got with our midwife, and had a long but wonderful birth experience. It was just beautiful. And I fell in love with natural birth and with that model of birth from that time. And I think even though I didn't go public or like official with it, I kind of became, in my circle of friends, a crusader for raising awareness.
You were a birth junkie from that point on.
Yeah, I was. I loved birth stories. I wanted to raise awareness for this model. So that was kind of where it started. And then we were planning on moving overseas full time at that point. And I had a couple of friends who were doing that as well. And they started doing a little bit of training with that midwife that had delivered my baby, to take as a tool overseas with them, to use in places where there's a high maternal and infant death rate. And so that kind of piqued my interest. I was like, oh, that's a really good idea.
Did you start studying at that point?
Not
or
at
reading
all.
About it?
I mean, all along the way, just because we kind of got on that path of being natural care oriented, I was always reading stuff here and there just for fun, but not like textbooks or, so no, I wasn't studying. I wasn't really thinking seriously about becoming a midwife, but
when did that moment
piqued
come
my interest? I don't know if it was a moment. It was more of just a journey,
just a progression.
Well, so then we moved here to Washington, and I had my second baby with Shannon. And I think it was after that baby that I really started thinking about it more seriously. And I know you and another midwife in the area were looking for assistants at that time. It's always hard to find good assistants, right? There's always a shortage of them.
Birth junkies make really good assistants.
Yeah. So I started talking to Shannon about, what this process looks like. And you pointed me in the direction of a book called Paths to Becoming a Midwife.
I love that book.
I loved it too. It was great. It kind of...
it outlines the different routes into midwifery. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that was a good sound effect.
Nurse midwifery. I feel like my lips are stuck together today like dry cotton. Direct entry as opposed to becoming a nurse and then a midwife, as opposed to being a lay midwife. It's a good book.
Yeah, it really is. It was helpful. And it was kind of one of those prerequisite things too, because I know you like to have your students do a certain amount of work before you commit to training them, which totally makes sense. Because otherwise you would spend your entire life going through the first 5% of training with people. And
then a lot of people drop out. It is not for the faint of heart.
Oh, is it not?
It is not.
Yeah. So I guess that's where it started. And, since then, our plans for moving overseas has kind of been shelved. I really hope and believe that at some point we will get to take this skill and use it in a place where there is a higher maternal death rate. And be a blessing in that way. But for now, we're here, and I already had my foot in the door with researching schools. And so we just decided to finish. And since then, as you can see, it's developed into quite a thing.
The student thing and now an official midwife.
So did it increase as your kids were getting older, or you were getting further away from having more kids? Did it increase your desire to be there with other people's experience? Is that part of it?
Not really, honestly.
Because you had another baby after.
Yeah. We had our third kind of in the middle of starting to assist and walk through those doors.
I remember you assisting when you were really pregnant.
Oh, yeah.
And thinking, she is going to be so tired by the end of this birth.
Oh, yes.
Why did you even choose the route that you went? Explain the route that you went.
So the main two branches of school is like direct entry midwifery, which is out of hospital midwifery, which you can be a lay midwife. The credential that Shannon started out with and that I'm going for is the CPM, Certified Professional Midwife. So that's kind of one big branch. And the other big branch is that the other main one is a CNM, certified nurse midwife,
Mm-hmm.
which has the nursing degree built into it. And nurse midwives do practice out of hospital, but I would say
Birth centers.
the majority of the nurse midwives are probably in the hospitals.
Mhm. Or birth centers, yeah.
And-
I don't
Is that
see
because
many.
is that because they have the nurse part piece and then the doors open for them?
Well, to be totally honest, as a nurse midwife, you rotate call, being
Yeah.
on call with other nurse midwives, and as a
Wow.
solo home birth midwife, you're just on call all the time forever.
Mhm.
So and then in different states have licensure. So
Yep.
Washington State, you can become licensed. Idaho, you can become licensed as a
Right.
midwife, which gives you additional privileges of carrying certain medications and doing certain procedures and things.
Right. But after researching, those two main branches, and the book that I mentioned lays those out really well. My personal experience was with CPMs,
Mhm.
and we just loved that model of care. We loved the out of hospital birth model. And so that's where my heart was, and that's what made the most sense for me.
What's it look like financially, the comparison between direct entry midwifery versus nurse midwifery, or just better yet, doing a school?
Yeah. Well, it's huge. So for my, and some people do direct entry midwifery and they never do any school of any kind.
It's apprenticeship
It's just
based,
apprenticeship
right.
based model. Mine was kind of a hybrid, as was yours,
Mhm.
where it's heavily apprenticeship based model, but then
With the academics,
but
thrown
then
in,
you
right.
you have a school that lays out some of your academics for you.
Right.
So the school that I chose was online, and it was work at your own pace. And so,
Which works well when you already have a family.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, you could get your foot in the door and start working towards the CPM, but not
Mhm.
have it be quite so regimented,
Mhm.
which has its pros and cons. All of these routes, every single one of them has their pros and cons.
So what does it really look like, Angie?
Woo! Oh my goodness.
It's easy. It was a
Tell
piece
us-
of cake, right?
It looks like
Tell
our
us.
house is falling apart and we can't have anyone over because
You can. She won't let anybody come over.
because right when you finally get it on your list to do it, then you get called from Shannon going, guess what?
Yeah, or you sit on the couch
Birth.
staring into space,
Yeah, trying
you're
to trying to
tired,
find
eating
yourself.
things that you
So,
shouldn't be eating.
Does it? So are these then passed based on what would fit a mom that already has kids, or did you choose this path because you just liked the model better?
Both. I liked the model better, but the
Mhm.
school that I had really advertised this for moms. I mean,
Okay.
one of the main pictures they have is a mom nursing her baby with a textbook open on the side. So
Yep.
this is like, this
Which
is
is
doable.
reality.
This
Been there.
is me.
Yeah.
And the bonus to doing an unaccredited school the way that I did is the cost is significantly cheaper.
Accredited versus unaccredited. There is a program called MEAC that accreditates colleges or programs so that by the time you get done, because they're accredited, you can go directly into licensure in the state that you're in. Whereas unaccredited, it's not that you're really getting a lesser education. It's just that you have to fill out what Angie's filling out right now, which is this
Ooh.
ginormous portfolio to prove all
Yeah.
of the things that you've learned, that you're proficient in
Right.
it.
And is that state to
And
state?
No, this is national
This
certification,
is to
Okay.
get the CPM.
the North American Registry of Midwives.
And then
so
we experienced every state has its own requirements
oh yeah,
too,
every
right?
state, yeah, some are illegal even.
Yeah.
So in Washington State, it's the North American Registry of Midwives exam that you take for licensure, and it's the same exam to get your certified professional midwife certificate.
That's a mouthful.
Ugh.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
that this is making sense to anybody besides people that want to be midwives, but
But it's
Anyways.
intense.
But the thing is, I think for our audience, or at least for me, it's always fascinating to hear what you have to go through. Like, how many births and how many, you call it catches and all that stuff.
and
That's fascinating
I don't
to
want
me.
anyone to ever think that because you're not going to a school that's accredited that you're getting a subpar education.
No.
Because I'm telling you what, it's intense.
yeah, it's very thorough. And again,
I'm sorry, but I was even
No, go
told
ahead.
that the program that I went through that is not the MEAC accredited was actually compared to someone who went to Bastyr to one of the accredited programs, and they said it's not only comparable, but it even has more components to it.
And I think one of the things, at least looking back, because I did correspondence, so I can relate, right? I get the point because I have close friends that went to regular schools and there's the credit program. I think it really comes down to how do you measure it? You know, measuring your experience. I've had a front row seat,
Right.
hundreds of hours invested hands-on with someone showing you how to do it.
Which
and
is
then
what
all
this
of
is
the
all about.
yeah, then all the classes where I did everything, you know, it was book work, all correspondence.
Yeah, you do your academics and then you do your apprenticeship, your hands-on for...
Yeah, my hands-on training was just as important to me as the book work. And I think it's just a measuring thing. I liked your model
Well,
because
and styles of learning too. I mean, for me, that style of learning fit me better.
Yeah. And, you know, having done this, I mean, now that I'm at the end and trying to fill out this 200+ page application, and it really is a pain. It's a big process. It's more of
Hours
a portfolio than an application. Right. But along the way, I have absolutely fallen in love with the apprenticeship-based model. It's an ancient model. It's been around as long as the earth has been around. And it's amazing to me how much sense it makes. Like, it's so focused on exactly what you need for real life, because as you're modeling an expert and someone that's already doing it, you're not wasting time.
You're doing your academics as you're doing the hands-on at the same time out in the field. Yeah. So it sticks better.
And plus this model that you have with Shannon, you get podcasting credits, which is amazing. YouTube. And
I'll have to write that into
I know.
Norm
Yeah, exactly. Let's see who else has the credits that you have.
Can you wave a few pages of my application for this?
I could have just imagined they went, wow, we never thought about podcasting credits.
So how many hours do you think that you've put in? I have an idea, but
I
have
no idea.
Okay, so I know for a fact that at this point you've put in over 2,000 clinical hours.
Wow.
In the field hours.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
You've attended how many births?
About 85.
Yeah.
You've done how many prenatals?
Oh, hundreds and hundreds.
How many postpartums?
Like
probably hundreds again.
Yeah.
Newborn exams?
Yeah, more than 40. Well, I've done almost as many as births. So
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, that's the other thing with this CPM route is no joke. I mean, they are so thorough. And I've heard that, you know, by the time you're done, you have more training than some of the people that deliver babies in hospitals. It's just very thorough.
I spoke with the CNM the other day, and she told me the number of births that they had to have in order to start practicing compared to the number of births that we have to start practicing, and we needed more because it's an apprentice-based
They're relying
program.
they're relying more on
us getting more experience.
More done.
Right. The thing that also just has so impressed me about the apprenticeship model is how much you absorb even when you're not quote unquote training, or even when you feel like your brain's not turned on. I mean, Shannon said to me 100 times, you know so much more than you think you do.
Yep.
And I don't, you don't think that you do, but it's amazing how much you don't realize how much you're absorbing just logging the hours together.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of all the years of being in church and listening to the word preached and reading your Bible, and you're going, I don't know that much.
Yeah.
But something comes up and there it is. You know it.
I think the other thing too, guys, is that what I've learned is that you come to a point where you're listening, like learning. Then there's this moment where you have an opinion. Right? Because you've been there so many times.
Oh, she has her opinion.
And no, but listen, and then what happens is that you find yourself having to kind of pull back because you now are engaged. Like, I've done this. I've seen this. I have a thought here. I want to add something. It's almost like I kind of feel, as a husband being around a midwife all the time, you don't even realize sometimes what you know until you're having the conversation. And I'll remember 3 other times we've had this conversation. Like she was talking today about the cost of one journey compared to the journey that Angie's taken. We've had this. I had deja vu today. We've had this conversation before because we talked about it. Yeah. So
did we cover that? We've talked about so many things.
We didn't
before we got started.
We started talking about how much it costs.
Just for a frame of reference, my non-accredited modules that I purchased
which are very thorough
to do the route that I did was, I don't remember the exact, but it was somewhere around $2,000, and then plus your textbooks, which is a few hundred maybe, versus now that school that I started with has since become accredited, it's around 21,000 plus books.
Wow.
And then there's
same
another
education.
One of the larger, most well-known midwifery schools in the United States. We asked our friend who's going to it, was about 27,000.
Now, why would you think that is, that they go from the accreditation? Does it cost them more to carry the accreditation? And
Yeah,
there's a lot
involved. involved.
Oh yeah, I can't even imagine.
And I mean, the education's great through all of these different routes, but
it's just pros and
it's
cons.
like for me, I had a family, I had a busy life, and I wanted to be able to do this at my own pace.
Yep.
Yeah, it just worked perfectly for me. It took me longer than the minimal 3 years.
Yep.
Because I had a family and then had another baby.
Me too.
And that's okay, because however long it takes. But I was going to tell you, I have noticed lately, he was talking about
opinion.
About opinion. No, this is good. Because you remember way back when I told you that somewhere along the way, you're going to look at something I do, the way I do it, or the method that I use, and you're going to go, when I'm the midwife,
yeah, exactly.
I'm going to do it this way. And that's awesome, because I've noticed that lately, that you do have your own style now. You don't mimic what I do. You've developed your own midwifery style, and I love it.
So it's just you find your rhythm, and I think that's what's really cool about you.
You have found your rhythm. What is your plan now? I mean, what do you see in the near future?
Wouldn't we all like to know?
Come on, Angie.
Well, so the frustrating part, we sat down to actually work on finishing up my application just a couple days ago. And I was so frustrated and grumpy. Shannon wanted to kick me out of her house.
I told her to put her big girl panties on and get over it.
I was like, I thought we were going to finish and go get our things notarized.
Nope.
And it was like, there's this whole section that we did wrong that we have to fix. And I was just done. Like, I feel like I'm at the end and it's supposed to be done.
Then I had this moment of wisdom, and I thought of this movie scene, and I made you watch it.
Keith thought of this movie scene.
And I knew that it would help you, right?
Oh, gosh. It is it's the application that never ends.
Filling that out is like cleaning house. It's like all you're going to do is mop the floor, right? Well, to mop the floor, you have to move the stuff off the floor. And to move it off the floor, you have to find a place to put it.
And I think one of the things,
place to put it,
in all fairness, Angie, what I was trying to say to you the other day in a movie, because I felt like I could say it better than me, is that if you forget the goal, if you forget where you're going and you get focused on just the task at hand, none of us want to do the task at hand. So I think you have to kind of keep the end game in mind. And that's what I felt like you kind of lost sight of when you realized that there was more to the run, to the race.
Yeah.
See one.
I got to cut out for a minute, continue this conversation. I have a cake in the oven.
What? Is it time? How are we going to continue?
Keith, it's just me and you.
I'm scared.
Oh my goodness.
So I have a question for you. Ready for this?
Okay.
So how much of just the relationship with Shannon and being, in the game motivated you to become a midwife? Because obviously that can't be the reason, but how much of an impact did that have?
Oh, that's such a good question. I love that, because I didn't really say that at the beginning. But, besides just loving this model of care, one of the things that I think pushed me over the edge she should be here to hear this.
Right.
One of the things that pushed me over the edge towards actually wanting to go through this crazy process and do this thing was because these midwives that had served us and served our family during our births were some of the most incredible quality people that I had been around. So it was a very personal aspect. It wasn't just the midwifery and the model of birth. It was also these incredible women that have impacted me, and to see them serving, to see them having these incredible skills that can assist people at this really crucial time of life. I just thought, man, if there's any way that I could be to somebody else what these women were to me, that would be a dream come true. Like, they just have lived a quality of life that I can only dream about because I don't see myself as that competent of a person. But
I think it's hard sometimes because you're like me, that you feel like you're your worst critic, right?
Well, you know.
And we have a tendency to put other people who are our mentors on a pedestal that they don't even feel like they can.
And I've told you that I feel like an imposter still some days.
Yeah.
Because the more that you know, the more you realize you don't know.
Yeah.
We were just talking about how much you were influence in
Were you talking about me while I was gone?
Yeah, of course. And she said,
you asked me about what pushed me over the edge. And Keith asked me a question that like pushed me over the edge into deciding to pursue this. And it was my first midwife and you. It wasn't just the model of care. It was seeing the type of women that you were and the way that you served families at that junction in their life. And I just, that personal quality, I don't know. I just thought these are some of the most capable people I've ever met. And
boy, did we have you fooled.
I just like, man, it would be a dream come true to be able to become a person that was even remotely like that.
And here's the thing. I think that is the age-old model that I think we forget. You meet someone who has some things that you go, wow, that's who I want to be when I grow up, right? And it's these real people that you get the chance to meet in the trenches, and those are important people in your life too. And sometimes they're the ones that draw you out. They're the ones that draw you up. And I think that's the age-old thing.
Yeah.
So
well, and that's kind of what I'm not doing a very good job verbalizing, but the apprenticeship-based model, you know, you don't apprentice with someone just because they have skills that you want to mirror. An apprenticeship is so much more than that. Right. You absorb some of that person's soul, and they're probably going to absorb some of yours. And so it becomes this very connected.
Well, we've become really good friends. Yeah. I mean, you're the age of my kids.
But I can only imagine how it's going to elevate your ability to mentor people, bringing her in. I
don't know if people understand our humor sometimes.
That's so fine.
True.
We did a home visit the other night.
Yep.
And what were we laughing about? Oh,
I don't know.
I wrote the wrong date. The dog is licking your feet. I wrote the wrong date down for somebody's birth. I was like, it was 4/22.
No, it was just
1912.
It was April. It's April.
And I'm writing too. And I'm like, Sierra, this is really cool. Look, 2/22.
Oh my gosh.
21.
And then you told on yourself.
That's kind of a cool birthday. Too bad it's not 2/22. 22.
And that's what you're going to put on the birth certificate too, maybe?
And yeah. So Angie was not at that birth. So she's reading the notes and goes, she goes, Shannon, look at this. What is this? And I go, what? She's like, do you see anything wrong with this? I'm like, no. What's wrong? And then I saw it. I'm like, oh my gosh. So we were in our normal.
We were cracking up, and this feeling.
And I don't know. And here's the deal.
Like, what is your problem?
I can relate to your audience, but I also can relate to the fact that I don't know that you necessarily need to understand the humor. You guys make me laugh, and I think you sometimes make the audience laugh.
You gotta.
It doesn't have to make sense.
If people are like, I don't want them at my birth because they're very incompetent.
I'm sorry, my brain is in my toes right now because the dog will not stop licking her feet. Toes. Oh my goodness.
She's on my lap now. She's been captivated.
She's gonna get on the mic here. Yeah.
We need to wrap this up anyway.
So to answer your question, I don't even want to say it out loud because then someone's gonna hold me to it. But
that was my whole point.
Although I've been saying it for like a year now, but actually finish this application and mail it off out of my life.
Take your exam.
Take my exam. Pass my exam, right?
Oh, no
Please,
problem.
Please, Lord, help me pass the exam. And just keep doing what we're doing, except, you know, I'm going to be taking on my own clients. Just, you know, building slowly. Probably just one a month right now, but taking some of the folks that Shannon cannot fit in. And so hopefully that'll be a blessing to people because
it's gonna be
you're still going to get both of us. We're still going to always be at births together, which is amazing.
Angie, I think it's incredible because, you know, the other option would be to say no. And now, you know, we get to say yes to their need and not have to pass them And I think it's just continuing saying yes to what you guys have a heart to do. I
And
think
we
it's
have
awesome.
so much fun together. We really do.
Yeah.
It's not just that we enjoy birth. We have fun together.
Yeah, if we weren't having fun together, I would have quit a long time ago.
So, Angie, what's the date of turning the application in?
Oh, I wish I knew because
Well,
for me it was 2 days ago.
I would say we could pull it off by June 1st.
Oh,
Yes.
dang.
That's going to be such a great day. We
Yes.
should celebrate.
Oh my goodness. Well, you know what I was just thinking? We blew it because we should have taken pictures for y'all, but Shannon and I went through just trying to make it feel homey, like include the folks at home. We started putting together my midwifery bags, which was like a momentous
time.
Yeah, that was cool. I saw it. It was in my living room.
My whole living room was
I had
covered.
to vacate the living room because there was stuff everywhere.
Like I've got equipment, I've got bags that are
She's
mine that are ready to go out the door, which is just kind of surreal.
That is cool.
We
It's like you got pictures for you. You have your tank. And you know how to drive it. Now
I can take a picture of my messy stairs because I've dropped those bags on my stairs and they're still sitting there. So.
Okay, I'll commit us here. I think we should have a little, her taking her bags into her car. We should have that shot for our season finale. Which, by the way, our season finale is just right around the corner.
Yes. Woo!
Make sure you tune into that.
Away, don't miss it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And guys, you could really help us out if you haven't subscribed already to subscribe. It means a lot to us and motivates us to keep doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So help us out.
Share it. Let your friends know about it, especially people you think would benefit about
page.
this.
Yeah.
Share it on your Facebook page.
Well, is that so? You asked her. She's off the hot seat now. Is it getting hot?
Is he? No.
You're off the hot seat. So, yep, we will wrap this up. And if you see Angie, say, "Hey, Angie, have you turned your application in yet?
Get it together." No, but seriously, we just appreciate all of you guys. And for anybody that's been following us from the beginning, thank you. And we really appreciate you being a part of this. And honestly, if anybody has any questions about midwifery, being a student, becoming an assistant,
call Angie.
I was going to say us, but get in touch with us through
Angie.
the website and we will connect with you and answer your questions.
Yeah, we
would love
will.
to help.
I'm just teasing. All righty.
So, thanks, guys.
We'll see you next time for our finale.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Zoe said bye.
Perfect timing, Zoe.
Well, with Zoe, we'll say goodbye to this episode of More About Birth. We want to invite you to our season finale for season 2. That'll be Wednesday, June 9th, 2021 at noon. We will be live on both More About Birth on YouTube and Natural Care Midwifery Facebook. We sure hope you'll join us live again at noon, June 9th, Wednesday. We hope to see you then. This podcast is intended for educational purposes only. Please check out our full disclosure on NC-Midwifery.com.